This was the first Mother's Day in 8 years that I did not cry.
Every day is Mother's Day.
Every day is Mother's Day. Really big highlight of like what you do not have and not judging my present moment against some imagined perfection that doesn't even exist. Focusing on the present moment and what you have in front of you and release these expectations that society tells me that I should have, that TV and marketing tells me I should have, on the peace that comes with the release. Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Peace by Pieces. I am your host, Ashley Hutt, and I'm so thankful and grateful for you being here today, watching or listening to me. And today we return back to the Just Me episodes for a little while of just me delivering whatever feels right, whatever's laying on my heart, whatever I feel compelled to share, either through my own healing path and journey, or working with my clients, or just being out in the world, and the way that my brain takes different situations and metaphors and all these things and connects them into this. I don't know. I think it's beautiful. And if you're listening to this and you have been listening to me, I assume that you also enjoy this process as well. So today I'm recording on May 15th, 2023. It's the day after Mother's Day. And this was the first Mother's Day in 8 years that I did not cry. So I felt compelled to share a little bit about this phenomena of Mother's Day, which, gosh, there's just so many different ways to look at it. But to share a little bit, I have been a daughter that lives away from their mom. I have been a stepmom. I am a mom, and my mom passed away almost 8 years ago. So I'm also a motherless mom. I became a mother after my mom had passed. And I've also done a lot of inner work and deconstructing work around these common things like holidays and traditions and customs and culture and all of these things that often don't bring us peace. They actually bring us the opposite of that. And we're gonna explore this all today. Hey, baby girl. Mm.
Why do you cut out the parts where I am in it?
I don't always.
Can you not, in this recording, can you not cut out the hug one? You can keep the hug one.
Yeah, I'll keep the hug. I'll keep the hug. Because you know what I'm talking about? I'm actually talking about Mother's Day. How do you feel about Mother's Day?
'Cause you can love your mom.
Because you can love your mom.
And you can get your mom stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you love me every day?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love you every day.
Every day is Mother's Day.
Every day is Mother's Day. That was a lovely interruption. And a beautiful illustration of really the result, or the message that I want to deliver in this, is that we don't have to wait for holidays. We don't have to wait for specific days on a calendar, and we don't have to contain our love and connection to a singular day of a year. And that expressing our gratitude to another person can happen any day, and is best to happen every day, for the connection with that person, for your own feeling of gratitude, of carrying around that energy of just like, wow, I am so blessed and happy and lucky and all of the things, but also making sure that other person knows that too, and just having this open, vulnerable, really, connection with another person. And that when we do feel that every day, And not just on the day that the calendar and the card companies tell us that we need to be doing this and feeling this, that also relieves and releases this expectation that so many of us women and moms carry around this day of acknowledgement of the sacrifices and the energy and the mental load and the emotional load and the internal to-do list and the management of an entire family that so many of us carry almost all by ourselves, if not by ourselves. And even if it is shared in some way, the woman's still carrying most of it. And wanting acknowledgement for that, wanting a 1 day release of that. Like, come on, ladies. We, we can do better here. I'm just going to interrupt for a minute, and I just wanted to say that the Break the Mold Club Round 1, my group coaching growth, personal growth, and development program, the round 1 ended last week, and it was such an amazing experience. The early feedback that I've gotten from them, or as we moved through the process, was that they have learned and grown and done more in those short 8 weeks than they did with years of therapy. Um, which is just amazing, and I'm honored to be a piece of that journey for them. There were each one of them were having their own battles and stresses in life, and yet our calls and the tools that were available to them helped them through, helped them have an even keel, a regulated nervous system, a grounded way of managing these waves of life that came with them, and a space for them to talk it out with other women in a safe, inclusive, non-judgmental environment. And it's just been amazing. And I'll have much more information coming up soon about round 2, but round 2 will open up in June, and I'm really excited about it. Details will be coming out more. If you're interested in that, just stay tuned. Go follow me on Instagram, friend me on Facebook so that you can be in the loop with that. You can find me on Instagram at I am Ashley Hutt. The link is in the show notes below too. Come follow me and keep in touch so that we can walk along this journey together. Now let's get back to my Mother's Day talk. Okay, so that's really like the ultimate message here, but I do want to share some things. I believe it's obvious, and not something that really needs to be explained, how difficult you could imagine a Mother's Day being when you have lost your mom. When that mom is no longer there for you to love on, for you to acknowledge, and that just the occurrence of Mother's Day highlights what you no longer have. And even if you have this is my story where my mom has passed, but even if you don't have the relationship that you want with your mom and she's still here, or that you're estranged from your mom, or you have gone no contact with your mom, or whatever the case may be, where that relationship is a little short or a lot short of what you want it to be, Mother's Day can also be a very painful day, because it's an acknowledgement, like a really big highlight of like what you do not have. And it's a part of your life that you can't necessarily control. I can't bring my mom back to life. If you have a very tense relationship with your mom, or it's or non-existent, there's only so much that you can do. You can work on your side of that, of course, but there's only, you would have to meet somewhere with her. And again, this is my story, so I'm not going to dig into that, because I don't have that experience. But I do believe that most of us can imagine, either you have lost your mom in one way or another, or you can imagine like, oh, she is sick and I know the day is coming, or there will be that day when she is gone, that you can imagine the sadness and the grief that you will feel or could feel on those days, especially days where then, like, everybody's posting pictures of these beautiful family gatherings with their moms and blah, 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 blah. And again, like, this is the first year that I haven't cried. all the other years before since she's passed, it's been this like signal. May in itself, May has been a very difficult month because she passed on May 20th. There's Mother's Day, there's May 20th, and then her birthday is also in May. So it was like all of the things all in one month. So the past 8 years, it's been a very challenging month, and in some ways, it's like derailed my life in many ways this month and all the emotion that has come with it. And this year, I was like, I want this year to be different. Like I am on a good trajectory right now. I'm healthy, I'm grounded, my business is growing, my relationship with my daughter is flourishing, and we're connected, and there's so many beautiful, amazing things right now. And I want that to continue. Like I don't want to completely derail myself into sadness and depression again, um, because it's May. So I think that, like, so far I'm doing really good. Like I said, first Mother's Day that I haven't cried. Some things aligned this year for us to connect with actually my mom's side of the family that we haven't seen in a couple of years due to COVID and all the difficulties of actually aligning schedules and that type of stuff. And so I actually got to spend like a fairly long drive with my sister, so we had some really good conversations, and then I got to spend some time with the remaining members of my mom's side of the family. And I didn't go to the cemetery, and I didn't take my mom flowers. I didn't take flowers to the cemetery. I didn't sit there and cry and tell her how much I miss her and all of this stuff. I didn't do that because my day was filled with other things. And in other years, I would have maybe guilted myself for that of like, it's Mother's Day, you gotta go. Like on any day, you gotta go. And it's like, no, like I carry her with me. I have, I have pictures of her right here when her and my dad got married, and one of the last really good pictures of her and I, and just all these, like she's here with me every day, and I can access that any day. I don't need to go to a cemetery and sit in front of a rock and take her flowers. She's not there anymore. So, but that's a process, right? Like I said, it's been 8 years, so that has been a process. And last year, it actually sent me down this downward spiral of comparison. Now, I have another episode about how comparison is actually not the root of evil. It's the judgment that goes along with the comparison of one of like the things that you're comparing being good, bad, right or wrong, better, superior, inferior, etc. It's like that meaning that we place on the comparison, because we can look at two things, and I go into that in the episode. If you're interested in that, go check that out. It's a really good one. But this day, I was sitting there a year ago on Mother's Day. I sat there and I was thinking about how different my life would be if my mom was still here. And I was comparing my then life a year ago to a completely imagined and fabricated reality that I could picture of what that, a year ago me, how my life then would be different if she was still here. And and it was very like I would be able to talk to her, she would know my daughter, I would be like they would play together, I would have that person to help me with things. If I had a podcast to record, for example, like I could go to her house and she could play with my daughter and love on her and make cookies and all of the things while I'm doing some work. And just imagining this beautiful exchange, but then that just highlighted what I don't have. Again, that I don't have that presence, I don't have that person, I don't have these things. And, just wallowing, sobbing, um, movement through that. And at some point I was like, I am comparing my current like actual reality to something that literally does not exist, that I cannot change. I cannot bring her back. And even if she hadn't died, I can't guarantee, like, there's no, like, that reality that I painted, that pretty picture that I painted was completely fabricated. And it doesn't mean that it would have even been possible. My mom was sick. She had been sick for 25 years. So there's no way of, there's definitely no guarantee there that even if she was physically still here, that she would be able to play that role that I painted for her in that picture. And that's just one example of how that was a completely fabricated scenario, and how I was sitting there wallowing in pity and sadness and grief and all of the things around something like that. Completely imagined, fabricated, that I cannot control, that probably wouldn't even be true if she was still here. And comparing that, like placing that on a pedestal of being superior and better than what I was currently experiencing. Again, this was a year ago. And just how not beneficial that is in any way. How not beneficial that is. But yet the benefit that did come out of it was me seeing what I was doing. Me taking ownership of what I was doing and what I did have control over. That I can be like, I'm not I can look at that and be like, that's completely I had these realizations a year ago. It's not like I'm looking back now and having these I realized that almost in real time. It was later that day that I was like, well, that wasn't helpful. I set myself down this totally emotional like pit that I didn't need to do. But it was a really good exercise of awareness and self-control and self-empowerment and coming back to the present moment and not judging my present moment against some imagined perfection that doesn't even exist, but instead allowing the present moment to be what it is and to choose to see the blessing and the beauty in the present moment and not focus on what is missing. So that's the first reflection. My second reflection would be another thing that would be triggering for a lot of divorced women, single moms, and or, moms where spouse is no longer around for whatever reason, right? I don't know what year, this was probably 2 years ago, or maybe even 3 years ago. It was Mother's Day, and my daughter and I went out to lunch. We went to a restaurant to have a meal together. And my daughter likes to sit on the same side of the table as me and not like opposite sides, like not facing each other, but same side of the table. And she still does this, she's 6, but this is still her preference. So we went in to the restaurant and we sat down and we were sitting on the same side of the table. And when our server came, she asked a question. Just the two of you? And again, on any other day, maybe that wouldn't be a big deal. And it wasn't a big deal to me that day. But I was also internally attuned to all of the different ways that I could have reacted to that simple question of just the two of you on Mother's Day, me and my daughter alone sitting on the same side of the table. Had we been on opposite sides, maybe the question wouldn't have even been asked, right? But she was just asking a question. How many people am I going to be serving today, right? She may not have even had the thought at that moment of it being Mother's Day, right? Or that could potentially be a triggering question. I don't from the server's perspective, she just needed to know how many people that she was serving and if we were all here. Like, are we ready to start this experience, or are we waiting on someone, basically? And I was like, nope, just us. And then, again, no reaction from her. She just took our drink order and whatever. And but I sat there and was thinking about it, and I was like, man, like I could have gotten offended. I could have been like, yeah, it's just us. Like, I'm allowed to go to, a restaurant with my daughter without a man, even though it's Mother's Day. Or like, I could have gotten like defensive and offended about it. Maybe not to her, but like internally, right? I could have like had that thought swirl going on in my head. I could have been really sad. I could have, again, wallowed in pity about like, it is just us, like her dad's not here and we're divorced and there's no other man. And I could have like wallowed in that it was just us. And again, maybe not outwardly, but inwardly, I could have, gone down that sad spiral of like, this isn't what I want. And again, highlighting what I don't have. And those are just two possible reactions that would have derailed my day, would have sent me down, either a reactory interaction with an innocent bystander, my server, or at least like internally sent me into a spiral. And I didn't entertain either of those options or any other option. I just said, nope, it's just us. And then I focused on my daughter and I focused on how beautiful this moment was to be able to share with her. And that's what I focused on, focusing on the present moment and what you have in front of you and not focusing on what you don't have. And that kind of brings me to how yesterday, this year's Mother's Day, did go so smoothly for me. And that, no, if we look at, an ideal picture of what I would want a Mother's Day to be, it would have a loving, supportive, foundational, solid, kind, loving man in our lives to take some weight off of me for the day and to shower me with gifts or experiences or send me away to a hotel for a night by myself or like any of the things that, you know, us moms say that we want. Or, take my daughter out and letting her pick out something for me, or doing an art project or something for her to make for me, organizing those things. I mean, um, yeah, that would feel nice. It would feel nice. And I don't have that. And that's okay. And it's not just something that I'm telling myself to make myself feel better. It's like legit where I am right now in my life. I love it. Yes, there are parts of it that are not ideal, and they're definitely not where I thought I would be right now, or anything that I planned on. Not, some of it I planned on, but like pieces of it are definitely not fitting into like a dream board situation, right? But I'm able to look at what's in front of me, be present in the moment, and be grateful and thankful for where I actually am and release these expectations that society tells me that I should have, that TV and marketing tells me I should have, that maybe even family and friends tells me I should have, or that I am capable of telling myself that I should have by, being on social media and seeing the posts of other people and feeling that envy and jealousy rise up in me about seeing them happy and, oh, I don't have this. I've released all that. Released all that. On the peace that comes with the release. The peace that comes with the release of the expectations that you have for any moment, whether it's Mother's Day or a Tuesday morning or your birthday, Christmas, New Year's, your marriage, your life, your career, your bank account, your retirement savings, your child, your role as a mother, or any of the things. And I want to say, and I want to highlight and emphasize that however it is that you feel about that day, about Mother's Day, whether you love it and you want to be showered with all of the appreciation and the gifts, that is valid. Whether you have that desire and you're not getting it and you're pissed off, valid. Valid emotions. Whether you are totally apathetic to the whole thing, valid. Whether you have gone through painful experiences and you feel like this is just another painful Mother's Day, your experience is valid. Your feelings are valid. Whether you absolutely hate the day, valid. Whether you love it, valid. Whether you're indifferent, valid. And also, if you are in a relationship with a spouse, with your parents, with whatever that is, and you do have needs, and you do wish to have connection with them, and you have been making requests, and I would like this, and I would want that. That's valid too, because speaking our needs and wants is the first step. Well, maybe the second step. The first step would be acknowledging that we have wants and needs. The second step is voicing, asking for it, asking for those wants and needs to be fulfilled. Because that's how it's going to happen. If you're holding something inside of you and you're like, well, if they love me, they would just know. That's, I've been there. Believe me, that's a story for another day. But that is a belief that I used to carry. And you know what that got me? A bunch of frustration, disappointment, and resentment. Not love, connection, appreciation, gratitude. Okay? So if you've got something in you, acknowledge that you've got a want and a need and voice that want and need to whomever you see fit. Maybe that is your spouse. Maybe it's your mom. Maybe it's your dad. Maybe it's a sibling. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe, whoever it is. Valid, right? If you have if you have an expectation about the day, let it be known. So that way it can be fulfilled. So if you don't let that out, you're not going to get what you've asked for because you haven't asked for it. And also, just because you ask for something doesn't mean that it's going to be fulfilled by other humans. Just because you ask your kids to behave for the day because it's Mother's Day, gosh darn it, like today of all days, why can't you just behave? Doesn't mean you're going to get it. Just because you asked your spouse for something specific, this, and this, doesn't mean you're going to get it. And that you get to decide what that means for you and your situation. No, I'm not going to tell you what that means for you. I'm not going to tell you that that means you've got a bunch of ungrateful, bad kids, because I don't believe that. I'm not going to tell you that that means that your spouse doesn't care and that you should like leave them. I'm not going to tell you that because that's not what it is. You get to decide that for you. And yesterday for me, as I was moving through the day, observing myself, observing those around me, and how different I felt on this day compared to the ones of the past 8 years, Mother's Day of the past 8 years, and recognizing what was different. And it is that right now I am embodying, being, and showing up as the mom that I want to be, as the mother that is in alignment with my goals and my values and what I hold true in this role of motherhood. For me, I am living that. And the number one person that impacts, my daughter, her and I her and I have this amazing, beautiful, connected relationship that is the result of me showing up, being, embodying the role of motherhood that I choose, that I desire, that is in alignment with my values. And that's all that matters. And I do that every day. We do that every day. She tells me every single day, multiple times a day, hey, mom, you're the best. Mommy, you're the best mom. I would never want another mom. You're the best. Mommy, I love you. I get that message every single day. And that's way more than getting flowers on a singular day of the year, or getting some earrings or necklace on a singular day of the year, or getting a night away at a hotel for one night out of the year. That is more. And I live that every day. And I wouldn't trade that for the image of what Mother's Day should be that we're sold. Because this, my everyday experience between my daughter and I, that literally is the goal and the purpose for me in this phase of my life, in this stage of our relationship in life, that will set both of us up for everything that her and I choose to build as we move through the rest of our life. So I hope that this has provided some comfort, perhaps, some understanding, maybe, some broadening of a perception or highlighting of another side of this dodecahedron of the human experience, especially in the motherhood and Mother's Day flavors of that. I would love to hear from you. How was Mother's Day for you? What are your thoughts on it? What is your experience of it? What is your struggle has your struggle been? Or is it the best day of the year? Because if it is for you, that's amazing. And I'm so happy for you. I mean that genuinely. And if it's not and it just sucks and you wish to pretend that it doesn't even exist, you can do that. You can do that. And it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just whatever works for you. And I do want to extend the message of love and understanding and support and kindness and congratulations and acknowledgement to all of the moms out there, especially if you're in the thick of it right now with young kids. Thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for showing up for your kids. You right now are doing perhaps the most important work of your life because you are playing a part, a role to influence and build up and provide foundation and structure for these little ones now. And you play such a crucial and important role, not just right now, but in the foundations that will be beneath them for the rest of their lives. Motherhood is such an amazing, beautiful, powerful honor to hold for another human being. And I thank you. I thank you for wielding that role and living and embodying that role in the way that is right for you and your family. And if something in this podcast really struck a chord with you, please reach out to me and let me know. I love hearing from my listeners, and it really helps me. So reach out to me on Instagram is the easiest place. You can find me at I am Ashley Hutt on Instagram. My inbox is always open. I've also been doing a lot of trainings on there around kind of the duality of parenting and reparenting, inner child work while actively being a mom, and how those two things really commingle in a beautiful way for us to deconstruct our own normal childhood while also making shifts and changes to better support and love on and be patient with our own kids. So thank you for watching or listening today. We really appreciate you. Please rate, like, and share this podcast or video, and come back next week for another piece of peace. We'll see you then.